My family bought my dream house to humiliate me. They didn't know I already owned the mansion next door. My family always treated my goals like a joke until someone else approved of them. When I was 26, I started talking about buying a little craftsman house on the edge of town. It wasn't huge or expensive. It just felt like home. It had a wraparound porch, original hardwood floors, and a detached garage I wanted to turn into a woodworking shop. Every Sunday after work, I'd drive by, park across the street, and imagine drinking coffee on that porch before heading to work. The first time I showed my parents the listing, Mom laughed. "You've got millionaire dreams on an average paycheck." Dad didn't even look away from the TV. "You should focus on paying your bills before shopping for houses." My older sister Ashley took screenshots of the listing and posted them in the family group chat with laughing emojis. My uncle Brian joined in, saying someone should frame the pictures so I could pretend I owned the place. Nobody defended me. After that day, I stopped talking about the house. Instead, I worked. I managed commercial properties during the day and spent my evenings renovating old duplexes with a business partner. Every extra dollar went into investments. I lived in a tiny apartment, drove a 12-year-old pickup, skipped vacations, and never posted anything about my finances online. While everyone assumed I was barely getting by, I was quietly building something. 3 years later, the Craftsman house went back on the market. I contacted my realtor that morning and scheduled an inspection. 2 days later, Ashley called. "You have to come with us Saturday. Mom and Dad have a surprise." When I pulled into the driveway that afternoon, my stomach dropped. My entire family was standing outside my dream house. There were balloons tied to the mailbox. Dad held up a brand new set of keys. "We bought it." For a second, I honestly thought they had bought it for me. Then Ashley handed me a framed copy of the old listing. "So you'll always have a picture of your dream." Everyone laughed. Mom smiled proudly. "We're flipping it. Maybe after we're finished, you can rent it if you ever save enough." Jake, my cousin, stood nearby recording everything with his phone because they wanted to capture my reaction. They expected me to lose my temper. Instead, I simply smiled. "It looks great." The laughter faded. Dad frowned. "That's all you're going to say? I hope the renovation goes well." Inside, they proudly walked me through every room while discussing paint colors, resale value, and how much money they expected to make. I barely looked around because I already knew every inch of the house from years of dreaming about it. Eventually, Uncle Brian stepped onto the back porch and looked toward the massive stone mansion next door. He whistled. "Can you imagine living there?" Ashley laughed. "Whoever owns that place is probably worth millions." I looked toward the mansion. "I own it." The porch went completely silent. Ashley rolled her eyes. "Very funny." Without saying another word, I reached into my pocket, pulled out a key fob, and pressed the button. The iron gates surrounding the mansion slowly opened. I walked to my old pickup, climbed inside, and drove through the gates without looking back. From the mansion's front window, I watched my family standing frozen in the yard. Nobody laughed anymore. The mansion wasn't public knowledge because I had purchased it 8 months earlier through an LLC after selling several investment properties and a small apartment complex. Only my attorney, accountant, and realtor knew. Keeping quiet had always been easier than listening to my family's opinions. The next morning, Dad called. "You actually own that house?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell us? You never wanted to hear about my work." There was a long silence. Mom got on the phone. "You embarrassed us yesterday." I answered calmly. "You invited me over to embarrass me." She didn't deny it. Over the following weeks, everything changed. Uncle Brian suddenly wanted investment advice. Ashley asked if I could introduce her husband to some of my business contacts. Mom suggested hosting Thanksgiving at my mansion because it would bring the family together. I politely declined every request. A few months later, I learned my parents had made a costly mistake. They had overpaid for the Craftsman house, expecting prices to rise quickly. Instead, renovation costs increased, interest rates stayed high, and buyers disappeared. They quietly listed the property for sale before finishing the renovation. My realtor called me the same afternoon. "The house next door is available again. I'll take it." This time, I bought it through the same company that owned the mansion. After closing, I renovated the Craftsman exactly the way I had imagined years earlier. I restored the original hardwood floors, rebuilt the wraparound porch, planted oak trees in the front yard, and turned the detached garage into the woodworking shop I had always wanted. A private stone walkway connected the Craftsman house directly to the mansion through a secure gate. One Saturday afternoon, my parents drove by. They slowed almost to a stop when they saw both homes connected by the same private path. Dad stared at the matching address numbers. Mom looked from the Craftsman house to the mansion without saying a word. Neither of them got out. They simply drove away. The family group chat stayed silent after that. So did I.